Hey guys, what's up? I was headed to my greenhouse, but I got distracted by this beautiful Mexican sage bush. So this thing has had some blooms on it, but it's really just exploded with color here in the last few weeks. And not just color, but also texture. I don't know how well this is going to convey. Oh, little bee, I'm sorry. But this is like fuzzy looking. It's almost velvety. So awesome. The pollinators love it. Obviously this guy is completely unbothered by me. But Mexican sage, this is really commonly used in cottage gardens often, like English style wild cottage gardens. And I was doing a search on it for on the Plants for a Future website. It's one of the databases that I like to look at for like the medicinal and culinary uses of different plants, all different kinds. It's a very vast database, and I was actually not finding very much. This obviously isn't commonly used for food or for medicine, but even just as a pop of color in the garden, something beautiful for the pollinators, I really like it. I'm gonna have to get some more of this to have in more of my perennial places, and probably move this out of this pot. I feel like I can't really do the garden justice right now in all its wildness, but it is very, very glorious. So I'm heading in the greenhouse to start some seeds and getting distracted by all the lovely things. This last month, of course, we were in the height of our summer, but in the last week and a half or so, the weather really broke. It's not nearly as hot, and it's been quite wet. And with that, a lot of the things that had kind of stopped blooming came back into bloom. Like the roses have a lot of blooms on them. Like this yellow rose, this actually petered out in like May. It peaked, and of course we fertilized and everything, but it was just the heat, I think, and now it's starting to put buds on again. Maya was talking yesterday about how the garden is finally how I was envisioning it. Whenever you come down the driveway, you cannot see into the pavilion because the plants are all so wild and lush, which is what I wanted, but it didn't quite happen through the summer. A lot of the stuff that I planted didn't take off, like my cucumbers and some of the melons that I had put on the trellises. But now it's finally filling up, which is making me not want to tear out the spent tomatoes because I am really enjoying having the lush wild garden. I'm trying to eat it up while it's here. All right, let's come in here, put these seeds down. Alright, so I just turned my vent fans off, and I'm gonna shoot out here for as long as I can. But I'm gonna have to turn that back on because when it gets unbearably hot for me, it is also obviously unbearably hot for my plants. Here before too long, it'll be time to come in and reclaim the wildness of this greenhouse. Got spider webs all over the place. Of course, we've just been doing storage in here because when it's really hot, there's not that much you can do. I do have some little potted hostas over there that were tiny plugs, and they're in here under the shade cloth. I have some cacti. These were little, they were cuttings that were given to me in April at Baker Creek from a viewer, and we potted those up, and they're obviously doing fine. We'll have to figure out where the heck we're going to plant those. Now over here are the first wave of the brassicas for the fall garden. Now they're a little puny, which is, you know, kind of to be expected, but I was just noticing this and thinking I got to get a fan out here so we can get the air moving a little bit more. But overall they look pretty good. This is like Romanesco, Dino Kale, Red Boar Kale, Broccoli Rabe, Red Acre Cabbage. I did a seed unboxing recently from some botanical interest seeds, and that's what a lot of these are. Here's the 1 kilo slow bolt cabbage, and this tray is the Romanesco red cabbages. Got lots of things going on here. So I have some seeds that I just pulled out. I have like a couple boxes in the house that have a lot of seeds in them, and these are things I'm going to keep them in this basket. I'm going to take it back in the house with me, what I don't get done today, but I am going to go through and direct sow roots today. I have some more things that I want to start, but it's a little too hot out here to do that. I was hoping that it would be a little more bearable, but it's like, it's over 100 degrees in the greenhouse with the fans off. So I'd rather start these when I can make a video of it, because I'm not going to be able to leave the fans off. But I do have some peas, some shelling peas that I want to direct sow. I have sweet pea flower seeds. Those are going to be started for the greenhouse. I have a bunch of, these are lettuce baby greens, and some of these I'm going to sow as baby greens, but some of these I'm actually going to start in cups to put in my green stalk. With any package of seeds that's listed as baby greens, they're just going to be baby greens, because if you sow them really closely together, they won't get very big. But if you were to take these individual seeds and give them plenty of space, they would grow full heads of lettuce and full kale plants and all of that stuff. So if you want baby greens, but you also want some bigger things, you don't have to buy, you know, several different seed packages. Get one big package of the baby green seeds, take out whatever, 20 plus ish seeds that you want full heads of lettuce. Start those separately, plant them at least 12 to 15 inches apart, even 18 inches apart, and then the rest of these sow really close together, and you'll gonna have your baby greens and your lettuce too. So I got radishes I want to direct sow. I don't know if I have the space ready yet for the peas. Wait on that. I've got some alyssum. I want to direct sow this alyssum. I may actually start the alyssum just because it's a little hot outside for direct sowing this. They're really fine seeds, therefore they have to kind of be at the soil surface, and that dries out easily. Alyssum will often bloom even past freezes. So alyssum is a brassica. The most common one is like Sweet William alyssum. It's the white tiny flowers. But it is, being a brassica, is very cold hardy, and I like it because where I live it may freeze at night but still be warmish during the day, warm enough that pollinators are out, like bees forage when it's like over 50 Fahrenheit. What is that, like, I had to look that one up. I was gonna say 10 Celsius. I was like, I don't know for sure my calculation's right on that. 10 Celsius. Bees are out foraging whenever it's, 50, 55, 10, 12 Celsius. So if you've got something that can handle freezing but still bloom, that's really great for your pollinators. So that's why I plant alyssum this time of year. I've got some dill. Those I'm going to start. The sweet peas, I think we'll probably direct sow those, but the beds aren't ready in the high tunnel yet. And I've got lots of carrots, so it's definitely time to be direct sowing my carrots. I'm going to need to get some boards to cover the soil up with those. Beets. We've already got a lot of beets growing, so I'm just going to come in and succession sow more. I've got bok choy, that's going to be started. Burgundy broccoli, that's going to be started. And French breakfast radishes, which are going to be direct sown. So all these are going in here, and I'm just taking the root vegetables out into the garden, and I'm going to turn the fans back on so that I don't unintentionally fry all of my my seedlings. See, I'm noticing lots of things. Like this mint plant had been really struggling, and since the weather cooled off just a little bit and got wet, it's filled out. A lot of these flowers and stuff, I thought they were done for, and they've started to get a lot of fresh growth and look really happy. And interestingly, some of my plants, like this dill, that I have dill and fennel that had been eaten down to nothing by the swallowtail caterpillars. It's started to get some fresh growth on it. So it's pretty amazing what can happen in the garden whenever it just gets the chance to recover. The lemongrass is wild. So what I'm coming in to sow in the middle of an already full garden, essentially succession sowing or late season sowing like this for the fall garden, I'm just finding places that are already spent, we've pulled everything out, or things that I have to weigh out the benefit of keeping them until the frost. Like I have peppers that are still growing, those I'll keep until the frost because they're still producing quite a bit, versus some things, maybe plants are a little sick, things like the tomatoes, where I have to weigh out what's more beneficial, the fruit or the veggies that can grow after the frost versus what I may get on those old plants until the frost. So I have some spaces like here that are already empty. Here I come and take the mulch that's here and just push it to the side. I don't want to take it out because when these seedlings come up and these plants come up, I'm going to put this mulch back. But I don't want the seedlings to have to fight against the mulch when they start coming up out of the soil. I am way more meticulous about record keeping in the earlier parts of the garden, like in the spring. I do really well at like tagging everything. The thing is with the winter garden for me is that I am battling the hot temperatures, which all of these plants are hardy plants, meaning that they can live through freezes. Like all these root vegetables I'm sowing today, when it freezes, they'll be fine. If it freezes hard, the tops may die back a little bit, but the roots will be fine, at least here where I live. And a lot of those things don't like germinating when it's hot. So the way we do it, I'm not saying this is the best way, I'm just saying with our busy life, this is how we do it, is we come in and we sow seeds. We don't worry too much about marking them because those seeds may be fairly sporadic in germination. When they germinate and they grow, that's great, and then we come in and we sow more seeds in the spaces. Maybe the same thing that we sowed the first time, maybe a different thing. The winter garden is sort of a hodgepodge, survival of the fittest, whoever made it through the heat and actually germinated, that's what we have. So we don't do a lot of marking. In fact, in this spot, here's a little plant. Now, this would have been Will sowing this because I didn't sow these. I'm pretty sure this is a little cilantro sprout. Looks a little like a carrot, but I'm pretty sure it's cilantro, or maybe a dill. There are a couple more down here, which makes me think Will probably sowed a lot here and they just didn't come up. And since there's nothing coming up, we've got one size, good size sprout, and then the rest empty. I'm going to fill in with other seeds. Now here's the thing, more of those may come up if there are seeds here. Those might have been volunteers. I could ask Will, but I could also just sow seeds. That was the perfect amount of seeds for this little area. So let this be a little wider. There we go. I don't want the stream of my water to displace my seeds, so I'm just watering these in. This soil wasn't super dry. I mean, I just moved that mulch off of it, but there were some areas where the top part was dry, and we want to make sure that our seeds have consistent moisture so that they can properly germinate. Oh look, we have some friends coming to visit. Hey darlings, y'all want some water? Oh, now I need to make the stream stronger again. You want this? You like it, Haley? You like it? Might not be hot enough for them to want this. Sometimes they'll come running when we start spraying. What about you, Paige? Nope. Sorry. Oh, look at this. My little gherkin cucumbers, they're loaded. I'm not gonna harvest a bunch of these right now. It's the middle of the afternoon, it's hot. It's not really the best time to harvest things that you want to have high water content. Instead, I'm going to water them really well because cucumbers like a lot of water. And bug just flew in my face. Tomorrow morning early, I'll come out here. So you want to harvest things with a higher water content, like cucumbers or watermelons, any sort of melon really, kind of earlier in the day before the sun has been on them, because they're going to have a lot higher moisture content. Lettuces are like that, any sort of greens. Whereas, there we go. Whereas the things that we want to have more intense flavor from less water, like tomatoes and peppers and stuff, we can harvest those in the afternoon in the heat of the day, because that's going to concentrate the flavor. So I watered those cucumbers and I'll come out and harvest them in the morning. They're gherkins, so I'll probably ferment those or pickle them. And I'm so excited to have cucumbers at all, because it's been a rough year for that for me. You know, out here in the raised bed garden, I don't have a ton of space that needs to be filled with these root vegetables, because we planted so many beans and squash for kind of the second wave. Mostly these are going to go out in the high tunnel, so I'm going to head down there. I've got some more cucumbers to harvest tomorrow morning, like that. Pretty cool. So before we run down to the high tunnel, I'm thinking this area is where I need to go ahead and tear out the summer to make room for a lot of winter stuff. There are still a lot of green tomatoes on these tomato plants, but there's a lot of sickness. And so what I'm leaning towards doing, instead of sowing, like this whole side is empty, but instead of sowing this today and then risking kind of disturbing it while we're getting all this other stuff out of here, I think that I'll wait. And I want to wait till I can come in and harvest all of the green tomatoes. I saw a recipe for enchilada sauce made from green tomatoes, kind of like a salsa verde, and I'm going to try to do that. So I want to be able to get all the green tomatoes off, but I'm prepared to let these tomatoes go. And then I'm thinking that these beds are where I'm going to put in a lot of carrots and potentially onions and garlic. I'll probably grow some onions and garlic in the ground as well, but these are, I think these beds are like 60 feet long. So between these three, I can grow a lot of my winter stuff, but I want it to be the stuff that's hardy enough to be outside of the high tunnel. And of course, here in South Carolina, our coldest cold temperatures are still mild enough, for the most part, that things like carrots and onions do fine outside. But by keeping it consolidated in these three beds, I can also cover these up with like frost fabric or something like that if I need to get them through the winter. So I'm not putting any new seeds in here because we're gonna put the chickens in here to clean up this space, and anything that I plant would obviously get scratched up by them. And here in the pepper high tunnel, this is where I was saying we're leaving the peppers, because just weighing out the value, having these peppers until November so is worth a lot. We do have in the empty spaces, like these are all brassicas. I'm pretty sure these are broccolis. And over here are the beets. Now I've been harvesting these. These were from the very original ones planted, and I mean, there's some really good sized ones here. So these have been going into food. I made some pickled eggs the other day that I did beet juice in from those. Here we have more Chinese cabbages, and this is, Will and I were talking about this the other day. There are some tags here, but they're not entirely accurate because we've just been throwing seeds in anywhere there was space where there wasn't germination. And honestly, man, this stuff is all coming up really well. I don't know that I'm gonna have space to sow more stuff out here today. I mean, we have a lot of food already started. All of these are cauliflowers and cabbages, lots of root vegetables. Here's more beets. It's time for us to start eating some beets. These are really there. There's some dino kale. Gardening this way is probably somewhat maddening for people who really like having a plan. It is a little bit of a guessing game. For instance, right here, you are sitting amongst a bed of wasabi radishes. There's a little bit of cabbage behind you. And if you had asked me 3 weeks ago, or if you watch a video, I probably even said it, I was thinking these were rutabagas. It's because we didn't mark it, and you know, with both of us sowing, it kind of all blurs together. You kind of forget what's what, and you kind of just have to go off what something looks like. And these looked like rutabagas. They're actually radishes. And I don't know, I think it's fun. It's like a guessing game. You just don't know what you're gonna get. I'm gonna try this radish. It's probably gonna be pretty spicy. It surely is. comes by its name, very honestly. It's very spicy. I'm gonna be real. I don't think that's for me. Not in this form. Not eating a big chunk at a time. Those would probably be really good cut in matchsticks and fermented in something where that spicy flavor could be one layer of flavor with other flavors. Or maybe in matchsticks, like small amounts on something like a taco, where again, like that spice was cut. Those are pretty pungent, and they're grown under shade cloth, so I can't imagine how spicy those would be if they had been grown out in the sun. Even though I don't have space to put on all my root seeds, I'm not really upset about it. Look at this place. It's wonderful. One thing I do is just try to keep the seeds out and close by. So for instance, when I come out and harvest beets, let's say I'm going to roast beets for dinner one night this week, and I harvest this section. Well, if I have the seeds close by and I grab them when I come out here, I can pull these beets up and I can just directly sow things back in there. Now, adding a little bit of compost would be nice, but this soil is still really rich, and these have grown really fast. It still has nutrients to grow, especially with this mulch on top steadily breaking down. So yeah, I could just pull these beets out and immediately plant another row, a section of beets. And though us coming in and just sowing in the empty spaces does make quite a hodgepodge garden and a little bit of a guessing game, just being like, whatever, they don't have to be marked, helps me do stuff like that. Oh, I'm trying to cook dinner, I'm harvesting, I'll go ahead and take the extra few minutes to put new seeds in the ground and water it really quick, and then move about my task of cooking dinner. And that way, it's just, there's constantly fresh food coming out of the fall garden and to the winter garden, and really late summer, because like right now it's the same thing. Like the other garden is full of random little spots of beans and squashes and cucumbers, and that was all just thrown in. I don't really know what those varieties are. I could figure it out based on what seeds I knew I had. But it's food and we're eating it. That's all we're really going for here. So this is where the bulk of these things are going to go in here. And these beds are coming up. They'll be done here by the end of the week. We're going to get some more soil in here too and put it on top of this. There are some things that are coming up in here that we may try to leave. Like there's a bunch of sweet pea flowers growing in here that maybe we could try to leave. Maybe not add as much soil to these beds this time. But overall, this is going to be sown, and this is about, let's see, around 1,500 square feet, and that's including the rows and stuff. But there's a lot of space to grow in here. So even though I didn't find a lot of places to put my seeds today, that's all right. Well, we'll have plenty of food. We'll have plenty of places to sow. And because I was able to throw some golden beet seeds in the ground up there in the raised bed garden, we'll have more beets. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. God bless you. Until next time.